tornado emergency for Noonan. The National Weather Service in Peachtree City has issued a tornado warning for north central Coweta County in west central Georgia until 1 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. At 12:14 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, a confirmed large and destructive tornado was observed over Thomas Crossroads, or near Noonan, moving northeast at 50 miles per hour. This is a particularly dangerous situation. Take cover now. Hazard, deadly tornado.
March 25th, 2021. Many families are preparing for bed just like any other night, but what they don't know is that their lives are about to change. A warning from the National Weather Service issues a tornado warning for Coweta County. Many not knowing what this violent E4 tornado was capable of continued their night as normal. As they listen to the path of the tornado, the danger becomes real.
I'm Christy Finninger. We've been here in our house we moved here in 98 of March. So the night of the tornado, it was like any other night, and I got in bed and I was sound asleep, and my mother calls and says that it was a tornado coming through, and I totally ignored it. And then my husband said he heard the sirens, and we knew that the tornado had already come through, was there. Like, you could just feel the suction of the whole house, and it was hard to get the door closed. So me, my husband, and my 18-year-old child, and a dog, all in this 4x4 pantry. But it was over within seconds. Like, it seemed to us forever, but once everything was still, we knew it was okay. We came out, you could see dust all over our house, even though all our doors were closed, all the windows were closed, and you could smell the pine and the sap, and you could just inside of our house. And then you could see there was pine straw inside my house. Like, it literally opened up in every crack and brought in dust and dirt from outside.
Living out here, you didn't, like, they always say there's gonna be a tornado and there's never a tornado. And so living out here, everybody had been talking about the tornado. There was a tornado coming. Well, they did the sirens or whatever in downtown, and we can't hear anything. I couldn't hear anything out here, and there was no warning, no text, no anything. So I just told the girls, we'll just go to bed as normal. It may just be a really bad thunderstorm, it'll be fine. So the girls, that day before, or the day of, we got home from work, and I had told the girls we were just gonna get things ready, just do our normal day, get ready for the next day of school. And I had washed my bed sheets for my bedroom, because that was the main bedroom that got hit. And I'd asked my sister was here, and I asked my sister when she had a chance to help me make the bed. So we went in there, and I just said, I'm not gonna make the bed. We'll just sleep in another room tonight. And so that night came, still no action outside, and then about midnight, probably 11 o'clock, it started to get stormy. So Paisley had fallen asleep on the couch. Piper had fallen asleep. I got Piper to sleep in another bedroom, and I was still awake. So I don't like thunderstorms, so I couldn't sleep anyways. So I just sat in there with her, made sure they both stayed asleep, and just kind of walked around. And then around the time that it hit on the other side. It hit my house first, was the first house it hit. It hit on the other side of the wood line, right here to the right of the house. And then it jumped my uncle's house and hit my house. So when it hit my house, I heard it. I heard everything. It was like 1,000 trains coming at you. So it hit the side of that house, and then the wind caught, when the wind of the tornado caught and swooped around and like tore all the siding off, the roof, the tin roof. It knocked all the pillars off the front porch, and then came around and just, I mean, it was a disaster.
We went outside to check on everybody. There were trees down everywhere. There was a tree 2 doors down on top of a house. There were no trees that hit our house, but we could see all of the debris and everything in our yard. We had so many trash cans, and there was tin from a house down the road that was up under my child's car that was behind mine. And it was just unbelievable. Like, there were things like a huge ice chest that was up under my car, and I don't even know where it came from. I had just the things that you could see, and we had no idea the impact it had. We were just looking at around our house. We had no electricity, no water, no nothing. But then when the sun came up that morning, you could see outside, and you could finally see the sun come up because there were no trees. I've always had trees all around my house, and that night it took 27 trees out of my backyard. It was God's work because all the trees were turned in different ways that away from my house. It wasn't like I don't know. One was turned towards this way, one was turned that way, and nothing hit our house. It did take our siding off of the house. We had damage to our attic and things like that. But we were the lucky ones. There were people down the road that lost their brand new car. You could see the neighborhood behind us, and there's no house. They took the whole house off of the whole everything.
Once it hit and had made its way towards downtown, we didn't have power, so the girls started to wake up. They were thankfully asleep when it hit the house. But it started to get hot. It was raining, still storming outside, so they started to wake up, freaked out. I ran outside because I have a farm to make sure that all my animals were still here, and then checked on the girls. I wasn't sure if there was anything else coming, so I put them in the hallway. I did get them back to sleep, and I was just checking different parts of the house, different parts of the yard, and then I finally walked into my room and noticed that it hit that room the hardest, so it tore probably like halfway up. It tore the entire wall off so you could see outside. So when it did, it came in and knocked the whole ceiling out. So all the ceiling, attic, insulation, everything was covered. My entire room, you couldn't see anything, and everything I had in there was ruined. That day that it hit, and they were still working on everything, the girls and I we couldn't stay here. We had to find somewhere to live. So from around March till the middle of June, the end of June, the girls and I had nowhere to live. There was no hotels. There was nowhere to go. So I packed as many clothes that I could save in my van, and we lived out of my van and slept where we could. But my van was our closet pretty much. So we slept in hotels for a few weekends if they had availability, even if it was just one night. And anybody that was close people that we knew that could let us at least sleep on the couch and take a bath. And then in the end of June, I finally found a rental house in Sharpsburg, and we were able to rent it until September, and they ended up renting it out on top of me. So we had to move out at 10 o'clock at night, and I had nowhere to go because we still couldn't come home. So we had to go Luckily, I found a lady that I used to work with, and she let us sleep in her granddaughter's room for a few weeks, and pushed and pushed and pushed for them to finish the house. They finally got it ready, and we got to move in. This Thanksgiving will be 2 years. You definitely learn who's really there for you.
Not only did this tornado affect homeowners, it also affected all of Noonan High School students and teachers.
Noonan High School was built in the 1950s, and it's one of the oldest high schools around. And we had 13 two-story buildings here at the time of the tornado, and we lost 10 buildings. So for the past 2 years, we've all been displaced into areas that we're not used to teaching in. I work with the food science and food nutrition labs, and we don't have labs anymore. We've had to relearn how to teach these children on a daily basis. We've had to share classrooms. We've had to, we're overloaded with no restrooms. We're using one hallway for restrooms. We got down to 3 custodians. We went from 16 custodians to 3. There's been a lot of changes. We call it working in ground zero, basically. And it has impacted the kids and the teachers in a lot of ways, but from our weaknesses, I feel like we've grown stronger.
I went to Noonan High School and I graduated in 2023. It was kind of all over the place, and construction was going on as we were trying to go to school, so it was hard only being in one building and trailers, and it didn't really feel like school, but it was manageable, and it definitely wasn't what most of us expected our senior year to look like, but we made it work. Just trying to walk to class and there being trucks driving by or dirt flying up from them driving, and then the noise during class while we're trying to get our work done. It was just so unexpected that people can really believe that it happened, and I don't think that the community as a whole was really prepared for it because it came out of nowhere.
So moving forward, we have a beautiful new athletic structure that is almost open, and the things that we have in there is just top notch for our students and our workers who work in there. And then that should be open at the end of October, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, by the starting of 2024 school year, we will have our new school, which is right on top of the hill up here. That will be open, and it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be massive, and even though it's not the hallways that I and my fellow classmates walk down, it's new hallways, and it's a new place for the new kids to make new memories.
I am currently the captain in the patrol division of Coweta County Sheriff's Office. I've been here 32, almost 33 years. I haven't seen a tornado like this. In the early 90s, we had several tornadoes that came in the south of the county. But one like this, I haven't seen anything like this before. The devastation and the effect that it had on our community. No, I haven't had anything like that in my lifetime. But going to the scene was something I don't think I'll ever forget. I've never seen such devastation before. It was unusual, the pattern that the tornado actually had, where I witnessed homes being completely gone from the slabs, some being shifted off the slabs, and then some that didn't even look like were affected. It was very odd. The roads were impassable in some areas, so you had to get out and walk on foot, and just the not only confusion but the shock that the people were in. I've never seen that before. Just trying to find them a place to sit down and get some information from them. It was a very I don't know, it was a situation I probably will never forget in a career. It was very unique, to say the least.
I mean, it just shows who's truly there in a time like that. I can promise that if it ever happened again and it didn't hit me and it hit somebody else, then my house would be open, no questions asked. I am grateful that the house is so old, and the way that the people built it, that it didn't tear it all the way down to the ground like some of the homes. Because there's a lot of people that had nothing left. And by the grace of God, no one died because of that storm. It is something still to this day that's really, really hard to not think about, especially when we have really bad storms. Especially for the girls, they think immediately. I mean, if it starts thundering, they will 100% come running crying because they think that a tornado is going to hit our house again. So that has been a big obstacle to try to, like, it's just thunder, you know, it's just noise, it's not going to hurt us. But when you go through that and you see all the damage that it did do, it's hard to make them understand that it's not going to happen again, and if it does, maybe we'll be able to have more preparation than we did.
Every time I hear the sirens go off just for a practice run, I panic. I don't see a storm coming. I see devastation still. I can't get past that. I'm sorry. But the way the community came together was amazing. I still get choked up, I'm sorry. But everybody tried to call us and tried to find out and tried to come get us, and you know, I have friends that took my clothes and washed them. One of my daughters was not living here. She lived in LaGrange, and she couldn't get to us. But she called and finally got in touch with us, and she walked miles to get to us the next day because you couldn't even get into our neighborhood from the trees down. The power poles, everything was down. I had people from church ask, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? And the most important thing that I learned was never take for granted. Don't take somebody's blessing, because if they won't, you know, we're not ones to say we need this or we need that. If somebody comes and tells you, here's a dinner, take it. Don't take away their joy. It's their joy just as much as it is your blessing. And that's the main thing that I learned.
You know, it's always been said that, and I'll use the death of a loved one or a family member, either brings out the good in others or bad sometimes in family members, or a crisis. And sometimes you get to witness certain things like that. But I will say in this case, it made our community stronger, and especially that night. There were folks that had lost everything that were trying to even help their neighbors that might not have lost as much. They were finding chairs and anything to have, like the elderly that were in their communities, just to have a seat. You know, it was heart-wrenching, but it was good in a way to see that people that maybe didn't even know one another were banding together.
Grateful we're alive. It could have been way worse. you're always grateful for the things that you have. But losing my home and not having a home for months when you finally move home, it's even more grateful than you can imagine. Like, I'm so blessed that we can come back home. That night, I decided not to make my bed. And I'll always say it was my grandmother. This was my grandparents' house. And I'll always say it was her telling me not to make it. Because if we would have made my bed and my girls were sleeping with me at the time, my girls wouldn't be here today. Because the ceiling would have crushed them because it landed where they sleep. So every day is a blessing that I get to hug them.